Amazon is reportedly abandoning another office project after butting heads with city leaders. The Seattle Times reports that Amazon is going to sublease the space that it rented. This 30-floor, 720,000 square foot building in downtown Seattle. Last year, the third largest company in the world froze construction on the project over a business tax that would have helped fund housing for homeless people. Well, the tax was ultimately passed and then repealed with the support of an Amazon-funded campaign. Earlier this month, Amazon canceled plans to build a regional headquarters in Queens, New York, after local activists rallied against a tax subsidy that the company was set to receive. And it remains to be seen exactly where those 25,000 jobs will be sent. Joining me now from Washington is Jim Kapsis, host of City Lab's new podcast about tech and cities. It's called Technopolis. And Jim joins us now. He's a climate negotiator in the Obama administration. He also serves as a tech startup. Whew, that was a mouthful. Thank you for joining us.
Rita, good to
Quite
be
a
with you.
resume
so
there, my friend.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. No, the podcast is called Technopolis.
Thank you for correcting me.
It's part of City Lab, which is part of Atlantic Media. It's their first podcast. We're very excited to be launching it this week. You can find it in the Apple Store, trending number 3 under tech.
I was just going to say, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And congratulations. You know, cities, at least in the way we think of them today, are based on technology, right? How has the way technology grown and developed impacted the way our cities have changed around the country?
I just think right now, and this is what we talk about on the podcast, technology and cities are just clashing in many ways. Certainly tech has a huge potential to improve city life, but if you look at the last 10 years, really since the advent of the iPhone and sort of the app explosion that we've seen, companies, whether it's Uber, Airbnb, all the new scooters we see all over the streets of many cities today, cities have to grapple with all of these new companies, all these new innovations, let alone the story that you're just covering about the big tech, right, Amazon and trying to move into cities and sort of what their end game is in terms of where they're going to put their people and economic development, related issues.
So, Jim, you say that over $75 billion has been invested in urban technology
just in the last 2 years.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, that's more than pharma. It's more than big tech combined. Why is urban technology specifically getting all this funding?
I mean, I think it's big money. I think maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Silicon Valley didn't realize the opportunity. They saw cities as really hard to work in, heavily regulated, markets. It's going to be really tough to deal with the politics. And a couple folks took some big bets, right? And the big names we know now that maybe going public this year, like an Uber, like an Airbnb, like a Lyft, and they've done really well, right? I mean, most of us who live in cities. I live here in the D.C. region. My co-host, by the way, Molly Turner, who's amazing, who's the first policy person at Airbnb. She's out in San Francisco, teaches at the high school at Berkeley. These are the kind of things that we're always talking about. Sort of, why is that? Why are they investing all this money? Our first episode, which is now available, is called Venture-Backed City, and we talked to Jason Calacanis, who was one of the first angel investors in Uber, to ask him that exact question. So tune in. Yeah,
it sounds very interesting. Your podcast is about issues facing the world of technology, the cities they occupy. And no problem, I think, is more central right now than the issue of housing in these cities. Can you set the scene for us a little bit about how housing is the issue that they're grappling with these tech-centric cities and how they're responding?
Yeah, it's a very personal issue. I live in Alexandria, which is very close to where we're going to have HQ2 for Amazon. And here, we really welcome Amazon. We have a real need for those jobs, but we do have a concern with housing here. If you look at what happened in New York, with Amazon, I think part of the backlash or techlash there against Amazon was fears of, gentrification and rising housing prices. Seattle, which is the story you ran before, has seen really record increases in the price of housing, affordability, hot button issue. What's interesting is we're doing an episode on this later this season, is that there are tech companies that are both trying to solve the problem of affordable housing, and there are also companies that folks question whether they're actually trying to exploit the housing crunch in some of these cities. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks.
And Jim, you talk about this concept called NIMBY, not in my backyard. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think we all have neighbors who may say that they're in favor of something. Like, for example, as a former climate negotiator, I care a lot about improving the environment and lowering emissions. And there's some folks in my neighborhood who are also very environmentally conscious, right? But when you talk about making certain changes in the city, like reducing parking, and parking, what does parking do? It invites cars. Cars today that are not electric pollute. So they may say that they want to reduce emissions and fight climate change, but when it comes to something in their backyard, that's the not in my backyard, they oppose reducing parking requirements, as one example.
Jim Kapsis, thank you so much for joining us, Jim.
Thank you. Please take a look for Technopolis in the Apple Store or wherever you listen.
We look forward to it. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Rena. Take care.
You bet.